Happy 2026. It's been a very long time since I've uploaded a video. Hey. Yeah, it's been a long time. It's been an eventful um, year, or 2025 was an eventful year. So that is why I was away for pretty much all of the year because life was lifing. And honestly, I was in survival mode all the way up to the end of the year. And I don't even have to tell you about it. We're all going through the same thing, honestly. If you hear anything, that's my cat, Sandy. She's in the window, and she likes to talk and look out the window. But I kind of just wanted to share a little bit of insight that I've come across, because it really was a harrowing last few months of the year. Like, I would say November and December. Well, I'd say I mean, the whole second half of the year was pretty harrowing, but if I could narrow it down, I'd say the last 3 months of the year, October, November, December, were really illuminating and also very terrifying. And this, I guess, is a PSA to those who may be struggling with mental health and of any kind, really. And this is just your reminder to check in with yourself as often as you can. I know it's kind of easy to forget to do, especially when you're in survival mode like I was. But it is imperative to check in with yourself and to, really sit with your thoughts and feelings and, kind of sort them out because they will come up later. And sometimes they can come up with a vengeance to the point where you may be overwhelmed with them. And then, that kind of becomes your new routine, is dealing with that. And that was what my routine had become for all of November and all of December and some of January, to be honest. Um, but it took a lot of mental and emotional work. Takes a lot of bravery to kind of sit down with yourself, especially when distractions just don't work anymore. And that's the point that I had gotten to, where like things that used to comfort me, things that used to distract me, just had no effect. And I really was just kind of stuck in my head, stuck in my body, stuck with the symptoms of anxiety and all the pleasantries that come with that. Uh, but yeah, like, and at at first I thought it was just this sudden bout of anxiety and panic attacks that I was going through. But really, when I look back, I see that it built up to that moment where the dam just finally broke and everything came to surface, whether I liked it or not. Um, and this was the culmination of a lot of stressful months and, quite frankly, stressful years that I kind of had been, setting aside in for the sake of survival, for the sake of just making it to the next day, to the next paycheck, to the next month, week, year. Um, and I think we've all been doing that a lot. I mean, especially considering the wonderful economy we're all working with right now and just everything going on in the world, it can be easy to just kind of stay locked in survival mode and not really take yourself into consideration, which I was doing for such a long time. Now that I'm kind of finally out of it, and I can say that with full confidence, I am out of it, not kind of, but now that I'm out of it and kind of back to my baseline, not even a baseline. I feel like once you go through something like that, you step into something new, or at least ideally you do. Ideally you step into something new, you approach life differently, you approach your thoughts and feelings and experience differently as a whole. Um, but now that I'm on the other side, I can really see how I contributed to that, all of those, um, just to everything that happened, just kind of coming full force in seemingly one sudden, bout of sickness. First, it started with me waking up with a really intense panic attack one night, and then it just kept going. Um, because I just had gotten so used to the feeling of being unsafe. Like, there's another threat to my livelihood or another threat to normalcy. And, that I just kind of, I guess, accepted that I had to scratch and struggle to even break even, and not even break even. It ended up being like, further entrenching myself in debt. And that's the story of so many of us. I know this is not a unique story, especially in America. This is a debt-based economy. So that just added to the stress there. Um, but yeah, it manifests in very different ways, stress. And for me, it manifested in the form of panic attacks and extreme anxiety, depersonalization, derealization. And that really forced me to look inward. Yeah, but like I said, first it started with a very intense panic attack where my heart was just pounding, boom, 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 and it would not slow down, even when I was like breathing. And like, it took like, I don't even know, maybe like 15 minutes for my heartbeat to like go back to regular. And I was just uneasy after that. Couldn't eat. I had nausea, no appetite, just couldn't eat, couldn't keep any food down, didn't want to eat, appetite low. And with that, I guess my blood sugar got low and I was shaky and like my limbs were tingling. I think it was an electrolyte. I had like an electrolyte imbalance issue. So I was drinking this electrolyte drink, which didn't help. My heart was pounding all day, blood sugar. It was just, it was crazy. It manifested in all these physical symptoms because I hadn't dealt with it first at the higher level. You know, everything first starts in the mind before it precipitates into the physical experience I've learned. And me not dealing with the things that have been building up over the years resulted in just the worst period. I gotta say, it was terror is like the only word that I could describe it as, because it literally was like living in terror of my body 24/7 for 2.5 months. I would say 2.5 months it took me to like get back to normal, a new normal, really, because I wouldn't say, because like at first my goal was to go back to normal, so I misspoke. It took me 2.5 months really to get into a new state of mind, something that is beyond the anxiety, which was something I kind of had accepted about myself. Over the last 10, 11 years, I just thought that that was a part of me. Oh, anxiety, I have it. It is me. It is part of me. I am an anxious person. So I went through life thinking that, and that greatly impeded my ability to try new things, to go new places, meet new people, have new experiences. So I imprisoned myself in that identity to the point where it just became so concrete in my mind where I didn't really challenge it. It was just something I managed instead of challenged it. And I know it's easier said than done, especially for, and there are other mental conditions, which, I won't be able to speak to, but I have experienced, the depression and the anxiety. Those are the big two. But it is easier said than done to step outside of that identity, because it tells you so fervently and constantly that you are this and that you're just relegated to this life. And that's what I had done. And that's what so many of us do, especially when mental health isn't so, it still isn't so openly discussed. And if it is, it's like something, like I said, that you have to manage rather than overcome. But this time really has been a blessing in disguise for me. Like it, uh, it forced me to face things that I wouldn't have otherwise faced. And maybe further down the line, I would have dealt with it even more intensely. So yeah, with that said, like, I was literally having panic attacks, multiple panic attacks every night. I was afraid to go to bed. I was afraid to be alone. Even when I wasn't alone, I would still have panic attacks. So even that crutch wasn't working. Like I said, every comfort, every distraction, TV shows, drawing, writing, that stuff just lost its luster, and it did nothing. It was ineffective. I was stuck in my body, scared of my body and all the bodily sensations I was dealing with. Like it felt like I was hyper aware of my breathing and felt like I wasn't breathing right. Oh, am I suffocating? And my heart, oh my God, is my heart going to give out? It's been pounding so much. It's been beating so fast. I can't catch my breath. I can't relax. I'm sleep deprived. I'm having insomnia. I can't sleep for more than 3 hours at a time before waking up with a panic attack. And it just, I felt so alone and so like separate from my body that for a while, like I learned this term, depersonalization, derealization, where it's kind of like you feel like you're out of your body. Like you're watching yourself from the outside. Like, yeah, you're performing in the body, you're talking and doing things, but you feel so out of it. It's like you're kind of like on the outside looking in, And that was such a trippy feeling. But at the same time, I'm, as much as I hated this, as scared and as terrified as I was, um, I had to get out of it. I did not want to live life like that. I even when it seemed like the things I was doing wasn't working, even if it seemed, even when it seemed like, oh, this is my new normal, I still, as scared as I was, I still scared as I was, faced the anxiety, let it pass, let the panic attacks come and go as long as they wanted to, which is difficult, let me tell you, because it is very scary. Your body is just ringing alarm bells while you kind of have to sit still and deal with it. But and I don't think it has to get to that point, but it got to that point for me. But all this to say, like, definitely very important to check in with yourself regularly, to have those mental checks, to set aside time for yourself and not just your obligations. Because if you're not right in the mind or in the heart, then nothing is going to get done. And if it does get done, it may get done for a while, but then something is going to come to a head, and it's going to force you to contend with and to really sit with things that you've been setting aside, pushing down and burying, or things that you simply accepted about yourself that aren't really true. Not I know now, having gone through this experience, that I am not an anxious person, that I don't have anxiety. It's not a condition that is a part of me. It was just a condition that I had accepted because I let fear take over and paralyze me for such a long time. And it kind of, in my mind, I guess, in my mind, it benefited me as well because it gave me that crutch. It always gave me that excuse for me not to try things, not to say things, not to do things, or not to, engage with the world. It was my way of kind of recoiling from the world, hiding from the world without any fear of consequence, without any reproach in my mind. In my mind. And, that's the thing. The mind can tell you all these sweet things that really aren't true. There's nothing sweet about it. But it tells you things that can greatly limit you and ultimately lead to something that you'll end up having to deal with later down the line, whether it be in the form of panic attacks and anxiety and night terrors and just feeling so paralyzed and so not yourself, or whether it manifests in the form of something else, depression or ennui, just feeling uninterested in life and feeling wayward and unmoored, like just, like not really knowing what your purpose is, which was also something that, I'm still kind of working through that right now. We're all trying to find our way, all trying to find what makes our spirits soar and sing and all that stuff. And I really feel like that 2026, this year, is really a great year to start again, to begin again. This is my start over year. I feel like last year was the end of a cycle, and I no longer accept that anxious identity that, oh, this is just me, this has always been me. Like, all of these things we tell about ourselves are just things we tell about ourselves. Tell ourselves about ourselves. And ultimately, we are so powerful that we can change any condition in the mind. It may take time. It may take immense effort. Now, I'm not saying it's going to be easy, just like flip of a switch, but we're that powerful that we can change the conditions in our mind. We can change our state of mind. I went from like literally being terrified of living in my body, like literally being like so scared of, I dreaded waking up because then, like the anxiety would return again, the fear would return again. I dreaded going to bed because I was like, oh, I'm going to wake up to another terrifying panic attack in the middle of the night that no one can save me from. No one can save you from yourself. And I at first thought that was so terrifying, I thought that was such a scary concept that only you can break you out of the prison that you built, that you have to take responsibility for yourself. But at the same time, if you look at it another way, it's greatly liberating because that means nobody else holds the keys to your freedom. Nobody else can decide how you experience your life, the success that you can achieve, the change that you can break. It's not in anybody else's hands. And that's the beautiful thing. With the right amount of work, with the right amount of dedication, the right consistency, every condition in our mind, every limiting belief we've taken on can be traded for something more uplifting, can be transformed into something that is for your growth, that ultimately is for you instead of against you. So that's what I want to make this year. I really just want to make that. I really just want to be truer to myself. I really want to abandon all of these self-limiting beliefs that I've taken on over the years. And I know we're all kind of in that same headspace. People are not so enthralled by this, I don't know, by this mainstream media narrative, like all these stories going on around the world. People aren't so caught up in it anymore. People are thirsting for the real. People are wanting something genuine, something of substance, and we're just not getting it from, you know, we're not getting it from the superficial facades that we, that we live through and see and perform every day. Of course, there are the mundane tasks that we have to do. We have to go to work. We have to, we got to go grocery shopping. We have to manage our money and all that stuff. And, none of that stuff has to be abandoned. But at the same time, we really do have to tune into ourselves, tune into what nourishes us, mentally, emotionally, spiritually, and physically, of course. But we really just have to tune into ourselves. And I really feel like that, those last 2.5 months that I went through was just a reminder of that. It just drove that point home. Because if you do not, it will come up. And just like if you continue to eat, shitty food over and over again, eventually it's going to come up as a big problem down the line, and just as the body is resilient and it adjusts to your habits, so does the mind. So we just have to be more mindful of the things we take in, the things we believe about ourselves, the things we tell ourselves about ourselves. That is really the greatest deciding factor in the trajectory of our lives, and I'm learning that more and more every day. So now I really just want to make it my business, and I am going to make it my business to be more present, to check in more, and not to be so in love with the distractions being put on the plate for us, to eat up, because it really is junk food. And there's nothing wrong with having a little junk food every now and again, but if it's at the expense of your well-being and your ability to tune in with yourself, to know yourself, if you end up forgetting yourself in the process, then ultimately that's not healthy. And I feel like we're all waking up. I feel like we're all waking up. I know I'm not so special, like, in that regard, so I'm not presuming that, but I don't know. I just know that I had an awakening. And I know there's multiple awakenings that people can have. This isn't the only one I'll have. And I know people are going to have many more. But I just wanted to share that. I believe it's really important for us to get in touch with ourselves, to really touch base with ourselves, to connect with each other, and recognize the importance of that. Especially with all the chaos going on in the world, we have to check in with ourselves, and we have to make sure we're good. Because if we're not good, how is anything else we do? How is that going to be good? But yeah, I hope to make more videos this year. It was just like I said, last year was really something. And I mean, it was the catalyst to put me in, it was necessary. It was a lot, but it was necessary because it forced me to face something that I hadn't realized had been bubbling under the surface all this time. And now I know how to deal with it. Now I no longer see myself as that experience that I'd had. So I'm like removed from it. So thank you, 2025. But hello, 2026. I'm looking forward to all of the beautiful things that will happen this year, that I will make happen, that we will make happen. And I wish you all a wonderful 2026, a wonderful year of just self-discovery. And yeah, if you have any insight or any comments you want to leave, feel free to do that below. And I'll see you in the next video.